Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the How to Film Weddings podcast. My name is John Bunn, and today I am joined by one of my bestest, goodest buddies, Mr. Blake, the editor, Polino. Blake, how are you? What's new? Thanks for joining me today.
I am great. I am excited to be here. It's totally okay if you say my other best good buddy. I'm not going to be offended.
Yeah.
I get it. We understand this triangle relationship that we all have.
I triangle you. Yes.
It's a love triangle. But I'm good, man. New year, starting things off good. Off to a great start. Got some wedding bookings rolling in that I'm excited about. Just came back from a really good shoot today. It's a commercial shoot. I've got a friend of mine that has a nonprofit here in our town that helps people with cancer. Like it helps them like financially, like pay the bills and stuff like that. And they had a 15-year-old girl who had been diagnosed with cancer like 2 or 3 months ago. And she had lost all of her hair in chemo, and they had a wig made for her. And they wanted it filmed, and it was just like pulling all the heartstrings, but yeah, it was deep, but it was fun. So it's been a good day, off to a good start for the year.
That's incredible. And I will say Nick couldn't join today. He's locking and loading some final details for next year's Mastermind class. Yes. I told Nick, I was like, I'm calling Blake. You keep working on this. We're getting all the details together. We have lots of special announcements, and I think I'm just going to go for it. Not going to say who's going to be speaking, but we typically have 12 guest speakers for our mastermind group. We're going to talk all about it in a minute. But this year, we are doubling that. We're bringing in over 20 guest speakers. It's going to be the biggest year yet. We can't wait. The mastermind opens up a week from today as we're dropping this episode. We're going to get into all that. But as it happens today, Blake, we are actually, at the time of this episode dropping, we are in California at the Mastermind Class of 2022 retreat in Palm Springs. And I'm going to guess that we're having a great time.
Future us is living it up right now. We got some wardrobe choices that I'm sure have already appeared that are going to be pretty exciting. Future us is having a really, really good time right now.
Yes, and if you want to follow along, just kind of see some behind the scenes of us at the retreat this week, head on over to our Instagram page, just at How to Film Weddings. If you don't follow us already over there, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing with your life? I mean, it's 2023. Follow us over. Anyway, but we're in Palm Springs, and this is the year-end retreat for our mastermind group. We do this every year, and at the end of the mastermind year, we do a big in-person retreat. We bring out all the stops. We have all the bells and the whistles. We hold nothing back. No expense spared, we'll say. We have a good time. We eat, we drink, we have pool parties. We get in hot air balloons. We do all kinds of fun stuff. And we wanted to, at this time of the year, it's January. Blake, you were saying that you're starting to get some bookings rolling in. It's a time to be like booking. But January is also a time to like really invest into you as a business owner. And we wanted today to kind of break down the 5 reasons that you should consider joining our mastermind group, which opens for application and enrollment next Monday. So Nick, gosh, I'm having PTSD. Poor Nick. Bye, Nick. It's just Blake. We miss you, Nick. So Blake, I want to talk to you real quick about your experience just with last year's retreat.
Yeah.
We did Scottsdale, Arizona. What was your experience? Because you edit our podcast, you have access to our mastermind. You're not there every week, but you're part of it. You got to be there at the retreat. You got to be part of the community. Just like, what was your overall experience with the retreat, the community itself?
When John says they spared no expense, so before we did the retreat, so we went on a scouting mission. So John and Nick and I, and a friend of ours, we all flew out there to Scottsdale. We did some scouting. We were just checking out different locations to see, what was going to be a good place for this retreat. And when we took the tour of the venue that was going to be the Ultimate Nights retreat, I wish I would have been recording it. It was so funny because John and Nick were walking through with the venue owner or the venue manager, whatever it was, and she had this big book of stuff that you could include with the package, and it was things like a hot air balloon and a beer burrow, like a donkey that walks around with coolers on it, and they were just like, yes, we need this. Yes, we need this. Yes, we need this. A hot air balloon. Yes, we want the hot air balloon.
Yes,
there.
please check.
So I did some really cool places. I went to some really cool places last year. Did some really cool stuff, but the retreat, a lot of it was with you, but the retreat was a blast. So like having seen a lot of this mastermind stuff and been involved with it, honestly, the retreat's worth the price of admission, guys. Like the retreat was so much fun, and beyond just the fun stuff, right? Like getting up to go on a hot air balloon with your friends and all the other things that came with that. The community part of it was honestly maybe even the most fun part for me. Like we literally, you and Nick and I were in a hot air balloon together, riding up and taking selfies and having fun. But when I look back on that retreat, we know one of my favorite parts were most nights we would find someone's Airbnb or ours, and we would go and just kind of have I don't want to call it a house party, but people would come and hang out, and we would always find ourselves around like a pool table or whatever, and we would start playing these games that were made up on the spot, or LCR. If you've never played LCR, incredible. Like it just the atmosphere is so fun. So that's what I remember of the retreat. Just such a good time.
Yeah. And you might be saying, what the heck are you guys talking about? What is Mastermind? What Nick and I got together a couple of years ago, and we were doing some batch recording for some episodes. And my friend Ryan Coral, you guys probably know him. He had recently talked about like, man, you should join a mastermind group, John. You should. And I was like, mastermind group? What? Tell me about this mastermind group. And long story short, Nick and I were together, and I was like, what do you think about like us putting together like a group of next level training? Like, what would that look like? How could that work? What would we do? What would we offer to wedding filmmakers to like help them take every facet of their business to the next level? How could we help them be better at shooting, editing, the business side of things? How could we get them to book more weddings? How could we teach them to shoot with hands-on experience? How could we help build their profile, their website? And it's just like we started dreaming, and it was like, oh my goodness, we could really offer something that would like change people's trajectory, change their business, change their life. And I remember December of 2020, I think so. Yeah. Right before we launched, talking to Nick and being like, okay, if we do this, what if we had guest speakers? Like, what if we brought people in to teach? What if we brought people, what if we met once a week on Zoom and like we taught, but then once a month we brought in these guest speakers and we had these referrals and this community, and like we started building it out, and we got to the point where we were going to announce it. And I remember saying to Nick, we need 12 people to sign up or we're going to lose money. Like, do you think that 12 people, like if 12 people don't sign up, we're not going to, like, we will have to tell people we failed and this was a bad idea. And that's nerve wracking, right? I mean, and I remember opening up the doors, and within the first week, the first class that we did had 42 people in it. And we were just blown away. Like, oh my goodness, like 42 people. How could we even, like, how are there even that many people listening to this podcast? It was this whole thing. And then after we did this first year and people saw what was going on, the FOMO like started setting in really quickly with people. You get 42 filmmakers getting on a Zoom call once a week and being trained by some of the best in the industry, as well as by Nick and I. If you want to consider us some of the best, that's great. We appreciate that. But once a week, we're getting on for an hour and like diving into deep subjects, helping you understand who your ideal client is, why you should be changing things on your brand, your website, how to do bookings. And then once a month, we were bringing in White and Reverie or the Film Poets or Penn Weddings or Jake Weisler, or, it's like these people that you're just like, oh my goodness, I'm getting to learn on a Zoom call with these guest speakers, and they can see me, I can see them, we can interact, we can ask our questions. And we built, like, over the course of this year, this incredible tight-knit community where everybody knew each other's businesses, and we all had helped each other grow. And by the time the end of the year got there and we got to do like an in-person retreat as a celebration, it was like it has to be one of the top moments, mountaintop moments of my life. I remember being up in a hot air balloon with Nick and Blake and looking down and seeing 100 or so people on the ground, like cheering and like taking videos and photos. That was a big moment. And I also remember we do a lot of styled shoots at these retreats. So we rented a different wedding venue, this place called the Paseo in Scottsdale. You should check it out. It's really beautiful with some mountain ranges and some cactus in the background. It was beautiful, but sun was setting. We had done all these styled shoots. We had done all this education. And the community was just out kind of in the desert, taking profile pics, getting portraits. And Nick and I sit down on this couch that was part of the styled shoot. And it's like, it was straight out of a postcard, right? As the sun is setting, Nick and I are sitting, like our family is just kind of running along the meadow. And they're just like, everybody's having a good time. They're hugging, they're having a drink. They're, and it was like, I looked at Nick and tears in my eyes, just like, this is unreal that this is our life. Like this is unreal. And I will the hairs on the back of my neck stand up talking about it because it was just one of those things where you could see the real impact that this was having in people's lives. And it was kind of like, how in the heck are we the ones that get to do this kind of thing? Blake, I know I've talked a lot. What do you want to add? Anything you want to add to that?
I do want to add something to it. So, fun side note, while you guys were sitting on the couch having this really cool mom and dad moment, watching the kids frolic in the thing, Kaylin and I were right behind you getting massages at the Paseo. I was like, where was I with this stuff? Like, oh, yeah, that's right. Kaylin and I were getting massaged at that time.
That's hilarious.
So
I remember that. And that was one of the things we did was we brought massage chairs and masseuses. That's fun. Yeah, sure. Yeah. A masseuser, a couple of people to do massages. And like, we just wanted with that retreat and with the whole year for people to feel loved, to feel heard, to like have that community. And that's the thing that like, I feel like was really missing in our market. We do these jobs, we're all by ourselves. Yeah. We have some friends kind of on Facebook groups, but we wanted to take it to the next level. So I know we've been talking for a while already, but we wanted to give you it's kind of a breakdown of what Mastermind is. So a weekly get together, a guest speaker now twice a month, a Facebook group that's private with referrals and networking. The Zoom calls are interactive, so you can interact with me and Nick and the guest speakers. And then at the end of the year, we do a big retreat together. And we haven't announced yet where next year's retreat's going to be. And so there's all kinds of things where we get together and it's just a full year, a 12-month commitment to make your business better. And it has changed people's trajectories and you should definitely consider it. And we're going to get into the 5 reasons why you should consider joining Mastermind right after this break. Nick and I have to tell you about one of our favorite places to upload our wedding films, and that is Love Stories TV. Love Stories TV is one of the best free resources for us wedding filmmakers. The best part is they are bringing the couples to us. All we have to do is upload our films and we are good to go. Upload unlimited wedding films to your completely free business page. Setup is easy and your films can be live in just minutes. Now is the perfect time to start uploading to Love Stories TV. So head on over to howtofilmweddings.com/lovestoriestv to check out all of the details and see how Love Stories TV is giving away $10,000 in cash to wedding filmmakers just like you. That's howtofilmweddings.com/lovestoriestv to start uploading and connecting with the right couples today.
Hi, it's Michael from Wedditor. We want to thank everyone for the incredible support we've received since sponsoring How to Film Weddings. Yes, we've had some growing pains, but we've had far more wins. And we're doing something that's never been done. We're a remote team of over 50 editors in 10 countries. I often joke that we're as much a logistics company as we are a creative company. Right now, demand is off the charts. And we don't just say yes to everyone and scramble to figure it out. That's why we're asking you to help us help more of you. In short, we're looking for more talented Wedditors. Part-time or full-time, work from where you want, when you want, as long as you hit deadlines and deliver quality. It's a chance to get paid while growing as an editor. Our project managers work with you, explaining why something feels right or doesn't, because there's always a reason. If you're interested, we'd love to hear from you. Go to wedditor.com/editor and fill out our form.
All right, we are back from break, and I am joined by my bestest, goodest buddy as well, Mr. Blake Polino. Blake, the editor. Nick had to not be available today. We miss him, but we're holding down the fort for you, Nick. We're going to get into the 5 reasons that you should consider joining Mastermind by How to Film Weddings. And Blake, number 1 is accountability. This is really important in our business. Why don't you talk about what accountability with me and Nick has done for you, accountability in the Mastermind group? What does that do for people?
Yeah, the best way that I can connect this is, so when we first started talking about this Mastermind idea, we had kind of realized that you and Nick and I and some of our other friends kind of had a mastermind already. Like we had the How to Film Weddings team. We have this group text, that we're talking in almost every single day, and we're talking through where we are in our business. And the most important part is we're holding each other accountable to things, right? To goals that we set, to different things that we're trying to reach in our business or change in our business. And that's huge, especially like you had mentioned earlier. This can be such a lonely business, right? Because we're in our edit caves for a big part of the year, and it just doesn't really have the built-in network that a lot of other industries have. So it's really easy to get isolated. So to be able to connect with other people and also to put yourself in a program or in something that's going to make yourself accountable for what you're doing is huge. I can't even imagine where my business would be if we didn't have the accountability that we have with each other, business-wise, personal-wise. Like you, Nick, and I share health tracking stuff on our on our Apple Watches to keep each other accountable when we're working out, and that kind of stuff's motivating. Like it keeps me going. Like I've told you tons of times where I was like, a day I wasn't probably going to work out, but I got a notification that you worked out. Like, I got to go work out now. And I did it. But on the business side of things, and I see it in the Mastermind all the time, especially when we do the film reviews, it's crazy. Like what people they know each other's goals. Like in the Mastermind, they know what the other people in the Mastermind are trying to do, and they're trying to support that and help keep each other in line. And it's a huge part, huge part of it.
Yeah, accountability is something that we take for granted in our businesses, I think so, because it's like, yeah, I can make some money. I'm editing. I'll do it on my own terms. I'll do whatever. But to me, I'm the guy that needs that built-in accountability. And there's just something about like, hey, we're meeting every week. This is the times we're available to meet as Mastermind. And you can stop what you're doing and focus on your business instead of working in your business for an hour a week, and get inspired and be accountable and get to know other people, watching people meet each other from all over the world. Literally, we have people in Europe and Australia and, all kinds of places all around the world in our Mastermind group. And so you get all these perspectives and you get this accountability of like, well, I'm going to pay to be a part of this group. I want to show up. And you're surrounded by people that are helping keep you accountable. And that's the next thing. Number 2 is the community, right? And so the community becomes what is helping keep you accountable. Nick and I are keeping you accountable. And building community with people that are in a similar mindset as you just skyrockets what you can do. By getting around Blake, by getting around Nick, we were in the same mindset, but most likely I would have, not been nearly as accountable, like point number 1, but like by being in that community with them, I was able to be like, they're pushing hard, I'm pushing hard. And then now, like the networking, is part of this community where we're seeing people from all over the place being like, hey, I got this inquiry for this wedding in Virginia. I'm booked. Is anybody available? And you get 8 or 10 people in the Facebook group saying, hey, I'm from over here, but I'd love to get, my name in the hat. And we're seeing people book these weddings because of this community and this networking. And similarly to Blake and to Nick, I was booked for a wedding. I point it to Nick. I point it to Blake. They're booked for a wedding. Like we help each other by networking. What do you want to add about community or networking?
Yeah, there's this quote. I'm probably going to butcher it, but it's something along the lines of you are the average of the 5 or 6 people that you associate the most with. And I've seen that in the 4 or 5 years or however long it's been since you and Nick and I have all been close friends and working together. It's just, you just fall into this place mentally where you just assume that like what everybody else is doing is what you're doing, right? It just becomes the norm for you. It's that, I guess, another, to not just like lay out a whole bunch of quotes here, but that one that says a high tide raises all ships. You know, like if everybody's trying to go in the same direction and pull together, it's crazy how that just becomes your default. Like when I look at my business, and I'm a few years still behind you guys, but it's like I'm automatically assuming, oh, I should be charging $10,000 for these weddings. Of course I should. Like my friends are charging $10,000. And when you get in these communities with people, you see other people doing it and like getting that affirmation of like, oh, this person can do it. Like, of course I can do it. Like it's worth the entire price of admission. Just
it's
for
that confidence. Like, and
Yeah.
you watch this as the year goes by in the mastermind group, people getting more confident because you start out and you're in this group and it's, you know, and you got 40 or so other people in the Zoom call with you and like, who are these people? And you start hearing them ask questions and you're like, hey, I'm happy they asked that question. That helped me out. I like that guy. And no, I'm going to join, you know, I'm in their Facebook group. I'm going to become friends with them or I'll follow them on Instagram or DM. And now like, you know, by the end of the year, we're seeing dozens of like great relationships with all these people and watching them say, I just raised my prices again. I'm up $1,500 from what I was at the beginning of the year. I just updated my website. I just got my biggest booking. And then like that community and networking, what's cool about the mastermind group is it's almost like a university, right? Where year one, when we did this, they graduated, we put them in an alumni group and they're still great friends. They're posting photos that they're second shooting for each other or meeting up for vacations or just the networking never stops. And we talk about this a lot on the podcast of just how important networking is. Who you know and who knows you is very important. So Mastermind is all about community. It's all about networking. The next thing on the list of 5 reasons you should consider joining Mastermind has to be our guest speakers. I've been working over the last month or two getting the lineup ready for the class of 2023. And when I tell you that it's unreal, it is unreal, the 20 plus guest speakers that we have. We have seen so much value in bringing in the industry's top leaders and saying, here's this group of members, of Mastermind members. We want you to give them something, and we want to have you be part of this group to add something that they're not going to get anywhere else, not on your YouTube channels, and those guest speakers coming in. And when you bring in 20 guest speakers over the course of a year, you're getting to hear from nearly, you know, it's like 2 a month of the best of the best. And what that does is it inspires. It gets you going, oh my goodness, like these are real people. There's not like this secret sauce that I'm missing. Little light bulbs are going to come on during the year. And just by being around different perspectives, yes, Nick and I are teaching 20 plus times during the year. But by bringing in these fresh perspectives, we ask at the end of the year every year, it's like, who is your favorite guest speaker? And it's like spread out across all of them because different people will relate to different places that you are in your business. You've been able to hop in on a couple of the guest speakers. Blake, anything you want to add about them before we move on to point 4?
I have. So if you are in your business and whatever it is that you're wanting to do, like you want to raise your prices, if you want to book a certain number of weddings a year, if you want to charge X amount of dollars, $10,000, $20,000, you would be out of your mind to not find someone who has already done the thing that you want to do and figure out how they did it. And not saying copy how they did it, but learn what mistakes they made and what shortcuts they can give you and all kinds of different things that you can pick their brain about. And that's what this is for. Like if you want to elevate your storytelling and you want it to be more emotional, and then you have Josh Helton come on and explain how he incorporates raw footage, it's like game changer, right? Like something that I had wanted to do forever, and he lays out his entire plan on how he does it. And I always thought that I had a really accelerated path getting into this industry because of my friendship with you, my friendship with Nick, and other people in the industry, that it really like put me on a really fast track to getting higher prices and better weddings. But watching people come through Mastermind, I think it's even faster. Like, it's insane. We do these film reviews on YouTube, and I'm in the background, like, live producing these things. And so I'm watching the films along with you guys, and it'll be a Mastermind student. I'm like, and they're in their second year, like, holy cow, this is better than what I could shoot. And it's just, and I'm messaging them like, hey, how did you do that? And it's an insane way to shave time off of what you're doing. Like, don't waste time spinning your wheels trying to figure something out when somebody who's the best of the best has already figured it out, and this gives you access to them, right? You can pick their brain and they can tell you how they got where they were. It's crazy.
And the thing that we are looking for when it comes to our guest speakers is, are they secretive? Or are they trying to like keep their trade secrets to themselves? Are they trying to be selfish? Are they trying, like, that's not the style of wedding filmmakers. We've learned this. Like, we can't find wedding filmmakers that are like trying to hide their secrets. Yep. And so we are vetting these guest speakers and saying, like, you're not coming on and giving, chapter 1 of the book and saying you got to buy the rest of the book to know what happens at the end. They're coming on and they are pouring out their soul. Last year's class, a couple people stood out to me, Blink Films, David Reynosa, Eric Floberg, some of these people, Chris Mai with Good Co Studios, coming on, and just like, people are in tears during these, like, just hearing people's stories and learning like different, like, it's not your surface level stuff that they're coming in and talking. They're like bringing the heat, and we are requiring them to bring the heat, and they are, and it's they like, are. Hey, we're not like, we don't just, it's not like, hey, I just started wedding filmmaking. Oh, cool. You're a guest speaker for us. No. It's like, these people are people we know, that we've met, that we trust, that give you all kinds of different perspectives on color grading, on audio, on course, like on selling different packages or growing, like all that, everything. And so we are strategically picking these people so they can like give you different viewpoints. And like what you said, Blake, we built this with in mind that like there was nothing like this when we got started. What if we could have sat down with White and Reverie when we first got going with their skill set and just say, how do you do this? What are you doing for this kind of shot? Like, how do I color grade? How do I understand vector scopes? And like me, not even meaning to, I'm sitting there listening to Kalen pull up his, RGB scopes and his, all the stuff. And he's so talented, and I'm taking notes, and I'm like, my color grading is getting better. And like, that's what's happening, is we are literally elevating the industry together. And some people are better at color grading, so they're chiming in saying, this is what I do. And some people are like, I have no idea how to color grade. Can you help me with this? And like, it's just this awesome thing throughout the year that there's somewhere in your business that you need to be getting better. And there's also somewhere in your business that like you could add value. So we have all these discussions throughout the week, and people in the Facebook group talking about different subjects. And it all starts with people joining and being part of that, the community, being accountable, and then bringing in those guest speakers and bringing in that knowledge so you can grow. Number 4 would be education overall. And we put this here because Nick and I, this upcoming year will be our 3rd year doing Mastermind. And we have polled our groups to know the kinds of things that people need to learn. But we start out the year figuring out why we're filming weddings. Like, we get deep, say, why are we doing this? Who do we want to serve? Why do we get into this? Why do we care? What couples do we want to work with? What couples do we not want to work with? Because most wedding filmmakers are like, I'll just take money, whoever will pay me. But the more that you can get intentional with your ethos as a brand, like who you want to serve and why, and being unashamed as to why you want to serve them, the quicker that you're going to get to these $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 plus weddings of couples that really love to work with you. And that's the sweet spot. But we have a curriculum that we're walking through over 20 different sessions where we are saying, let's get intentional about our brand. Let's really understand who we want to be. Let's get intentional about our website. Let's get intentional about our social media. Let's get intentional about how we book people, what products we offer, intentional about how we shoot, how we get color, how we get audio, and we walk through the course of the year, like an entire basically live course, really. where we update it and we answer questions at the end of every, we'll have a presentation, we'll talk 30 or 40 minutes, and then we'll do Q&A on that subject. What better way for you to be able to raise your hand and say, this is where I'm hitting my head, this is where I'm struggling, and people feel comfortable to ask questions in this setting. So every week you're getting educated, and there's just something about that shot in the arm. Every single week we have a few different weeks where Nick and I are teaching on a subject, and then boom, we bring in a guest speaker, and then a few more weeks where we're teaching again, and then boom, a guest speaker. And like continually sitting under that education, it changes you. It changes how you think. It's not just 1 week, it's not just 2, but that accountability with your community over time and being educated, it really can change the trajectory for you. I know I keep saying changing the trajectory. And then the bonus part about all this is that we record all of these sessions. The whole year we record, and then you get access to it for life. So the people who went through our mastermind in year 1 are going back and listening to guest speakers talk and education from me and Nick. And so that constant education is what's going to push you outside of your comfort zone.
Yeah, the recording part is such a huge thing. Like it's a lot of how I've ingested Mastermind a ton. Like when I can't be in the sessions, I'll go back and listen to those, or there's some of them I just use as reference. Like what Kalen's keeps coming up, but when Kalen talks about color grading, this guy knows his stuff. Like we've sat around the Airbnb and got super nerdy about color science and everything goes into it. But there's a lot of times like I'll be color grading and be like, oh yeah, let me just go back and rewatch that. And it's crazy to just have this huge library of the best in our industry telling you how they do things and walking you through it. And the access that you get to them is really cool. I mean, we're not saying you're going to become best friends with all 20 of these people, but to be able to get to know them and talk to them, and it's a really, really cool thing to do.
Yeah, and you're not going to necessarily become best friends with all these people, but like having access. I remember you saying that about like you paying a couple $1,000 to be a part of Jay Worsley's workshop because you just wanted to be in the room. Yep. Like, I just want access. I just want to be able to pick your brain. I just want, like, you never know what's going to happen whenever you just get in the same room with people. And I think we undervalue that in wedding filmmaking specifically, of like, oh, I became friends with I went to Venture Workshop a few years ago and I met Eric Floberg and we talked and whatever. I was just in the same room. I was like, oh my gosh, we like each other. Like, we like each other. We're friends. We call each other. We FaceTime each other. We talk all the time. And like, he is such an inspiration, on his YouTube channel and stuff, and got his couple 100,000 followers or whatever. But like, the real Eric Floberg is very genuine, just like on his channel.
Yep.
But he's become my friend. And it's like, hey, I'm going to be in Chicago. Like, do you want to meet up? Or if he's got a wet, like, there's just, you just never know. And I'm not trying to be his friend so I can get stuff, but like, you make these relationships with people that are kind of on your, your level, getting, going through the same things you're going through, and they become lifetime friendships. I know we're talking about education, but we get back to the networking community because it's just such a good thing.
It is. And it's a wild thing because we see this every time we have these events, because we get to see 100 people who all do what we do, all get together, and you start to really realize the similarities. I joke about it like all the time. Like every time we have somebody on the podcast, we're like, hey, how'd you get started? They're like, well, I was doing media in a church. And it's like,
or I was a musician.
Yeah, I was a musician. And it's like everybody at this event is a musician. Like everybody plays, like everybody was a musician. And we all have certain attributes about us that made us want to get into this in the first place. So you connect with people because a lot of times we're all the same person in a lot of ways, but asking everybody their Enneagram number and going on the table is hilarious at these things because it's generally most people are the same, and there's differences and there's different personalities to be sure, but it's fun connecting with these people that do the same thing that you do. But yeah, that wasn't even education, but
and it's just great. Like, and we're talking about education, but I don't care because it's our podcast, so we can do whatever we want. But like being in the room with somebody that you can just tell is fired up about what they're doing. We don't live on this mountaintop all the time. There's valleys, there's peaks. And like the goal with this is similar to me hiring a personal trainer. It's like, I know what I should and could be doing, but that person that is fit, that understands education, that has spent the extra time, that has spent the resource, and they're keeping me accountable.
Yeah.
My trainer knows I'm going to get there at 10:45. Like that's when he's expecting me to be there and I'm paying. So it's just like, those who pay attention. And so I'm accountable. I'm showing up to those training sessions every day. And what happens is like, was the workout I did today the one that got me less body fat percentage? No. But the whole year of me doing it, I look back from this time last year when I started with the personal trainer, and I'm down 17 pounds and I'm up 4 pounds of muscle and I feel better. And yeah, I am. And like, this is what Mastermind does, right? I mean, it helps you to stay consistent. Did I want to work out every time? No. But by having somebody there keeping me accountable, saying, hey, your homework this week is to reach out to this planner in your town and do this thing, or the homework this week is to stretch before bed. And I'm going to ask you tomorrow, if you're stretching, the trainer, it's like, oh yeah, I need to stretch because he's going to ask me about it. Or, and so like all of this stuff added up becomes life-changing. Number 5 on the list of 5 reasons you should consider joining. If you're still listening, thanks for listening. We know that you're actually really heavily considering joining, and we hope you do. The 5th thing that we wanted to point out, and we talked about it, we don't have to talk a ton, just because we did kind of at the beginning, is the in-person retreat. The getting together in person with people, and just the timing of the year is very intentional. We do it in January. We get out of the cold. We go somewhere warm. And it really is a retreat. It's a relaxation. We get pampered. We get to enjoy nice food, nice drink. We get to party. We get to dance. We don't have to be filming the events. We get to just be at the events. And the retreat itself, we wanted it to be a relax kind of thing. We wanted it to be a place for you to connect with other people in the group and just build relationships. And we wanted it to also be portfolio building. And so, we have some education, some people that teach and stuff like that, but we set up 6, 7, 8 different couples and styled shoots. Just like this week while we're in California, we're doing a shoot at Joshua Tree National Park, and we're also doing a shoot in Coachella at this really dope venue with 3 different couples and like tablescapes and flowers and ceremonies. And like, you get to leave the retreat with portfolio building material. It looks really great. So if you're trying to build your portfolio, what better than to have 6 weddings basically of content at the beginning of the year? And then we hire a video team, a photo team to get behind the scenes photos of you doing work, behind the scenes video of you doing work, and then headshots and video. Excuse me. And like, the goal is like, you leave that retreat at the end of this incredible year fully equipped to take your business by storm, fully equipped to stay accountable with people moving forward. A new headshot, a new profile pic, a new branding for your website, all these things wrapped into one ridiculously awesome group that's only open. We only open it in January, and we go for 12 months. What do you have to say? Anything you want to add? We already talked a little bit about the retreat, but what do you have to add?
I sang its praises at the very beginning of the episode, so I don't want to say too much about it anymore, but it's huge. The portfolio building part is amazing. For people who may not know, John and I actually met at his workshop. He hosted a workshop in Tulsa, and I went, and it was the first actually education thing I'd ever been to, the first wedding thing I'd ever done. And we met at that, and he had some really, really good portfolio building sessions, some styled shoot stuff. I made 2 wedding videos out of the stuff that we did, and it took my branding. I still use that stuff in my branding. Like when I send I use Honeybook, and when I send my brochure, like most of the images that are in that are still from screen grabs from that for those videos that I made at that. So like there's just so much stuff that makes it worth it. It's an incredible time, and it's, like I said at the beginning, worth the price of admission just to go to the retreat, in my opinion.
Yeah, and we have had people getting on the wait list for the last year. And so just so you know how it works, if you go to MMXHTFW, that stands for Mastermind by How to Film Weddings, all one word, MMXHTFW.com, you can get on the wait list. As this episode drops Monday, it'll just be a spot for you to check out some of the basics of what's going on. But this Friday, the 20th, we're going to be announcing the guest speaker lineup. I think it's the 20th. I believe I wrote that down correctly earlier. But this Friday, the guest speaker lineup we're going to announce And then the following Monday, the doors are going to open. So you want to be on that wait list because we're going to be sending you the link of how to apply. It's an application process. You put in your application, we review it, and then we start letting people in as quickly as we can. It's a lot of the different categories sold out the first day last year, and we sold out of spots last year. So it's the biggest thing we do all year long. At the sake of being like markety or salesy, we wanted to do a full episode just on this because so many questions come in about what it is. So if you do have more questions about it, just send us a DM on our How to Film Weddings account at How to Film Weddings, and be sure to head over to mmxhtfw.com to get on the wait list today. Blake, before I land this plane, thanks so much for being part of this today. Thanks so much for being one of our best good buddies, for being part of the How to Film Weddings team, for taking the time. Thanks for all you do for us, and the community loves you. Anything you want to add before we land this plane?
No, thank you for having me on. Always an honor to hop on here and chat with you guys, or with just you. We miss Nick. But always an honor to get on here and chat. Always enjoy it. And, get to edit an episode that I've already heard this time. So yeah. that'll be fun. Before we go, we should say our favorite thing that we love about our best good buddy, Nick Miller.
Oh my goodness. Okay, let me think of all the things. I mean, outside of physical, the beard, of course. Nick is, so yesterday I was feeling a little stressed. We got a lot going on. We're launching courses, or the Mastermind. We're talking to sponsors. We're doing a lot of stuff in January. It's busy. And I was just like overwhelmed, and he was like, what can I do? How can I help? He's always there for me whenever I'm feeling stressed or like needing a friend. He's always right there. He's just very supportive, very gracious. Those are my favorite things. What about you?
Oh, that's a good one. My favorite thing, it's not as deep and as sappy as yours, but Nick always keeps a running tab on funny things that I have said or jokes that I have brought up. I made a joke about something. We had a BTS video that just came out a couple weeks ago as you're watching this, but in the BTS, I opened up the trunk and there was like all this camera gear laying out, and I said, it looks like B&H threw up in the trunk. And he sent me a text after it came out, and he was like, how many times have you used the B&H joke? And I was like, you know what? You're right. I love that joke. And he notices fun little stuff like that about people, and it's so genuine, and it's so intentional, and I love that about Nick. So Nick, hope you got to hear this, man. Love that.
Yeah, there's no way he's going to hear this, but you should tag Nick if you're still listening to this and say, Nick, you should listen.
Totally.
He might listen, but Blake, seriously though, appreciate you Thanks, being, man. Like, the How to Film Weddings brand would not be what it is without your commitment to it, and we couldn't do this without you, editing 220 of the 250 episodes or something like that at this point. So once again, before we head out, be sure to hit that link, mmxhtfw.com, to get on the wait list. It's going to be amazing. We're so excited about 2023, and until next time, we will see you.
See ya.